Today's English story takes place in a fishing harbor, and people report hearing strange musical tones far out in the sea. I included high-level vocabulary in this story that will appear in its natural context, so I hope it expands your vocabulary and that you enjoy the story as well. Let's get started. The sea was calm when Elias guided his small boat out of the harbor. The morning light spread across the calm surface, and the seagulls circled above him. He had made this same trip on the sea dozens of times for his research role, but today's trip was different. This time, he was searching for something unusual and eerie that fishermen had been talking about for weeks. They called it the musical buoy. According to the stories of the fishermen, a buoy far out in the sea had begun making strange sounds at night. They were not the usual creaks or echoes of waves, but soft, rhythmic tones, almost like a voice humming through the fog. Most people laughed it off and said that others were simply being tricked by their ears, but Elias didn't. He worked for the local Maritime Institute, where he regularly went out on a boat to collect water samples. He knew that unusual sounds often meant something was wrong. Some common problems could be loose chains, damaged sensors, or even shifting underwater currents. Therefore, he wanted to find the buoy so he could see if something was wrong with it. As he traveled farther from shore, the coastline faded into a thin blue line behind him. The air grew cooler, and the sea deepened to a dark, glassy blue. Elias checked his coordinates, adjusted the wheel, and scanned the horizon. He saw nothing but water and sky. Then finally, he saw what he was looking for. It was a small, red buoy rising and falling gently with the waves. At first glance, it looked perfectly normal. So he approached it, starting to feel a vague tension from all the stories he had heard about it. Elias cut the engine and drifted closer. The boat rocked softly in the waves. For a moment, there was only silence. But then he heard what they had talked about. It was a low, melodic sound, almost like a flute playing underwater. It wasn't loud, but it was clear enough to make the hairs on his arms stand up. The buoy seemed to vibrate slightly with each tone. Elias leaned over the side of the boat, listening carefully. The sound repeated every few seconds, always in the same pattern. It sounded almost intentional rather than natural. He reached out and steadied the buoy with one hand. The metal was cool, but he noticed something odd, a thin crack along the base, just above the waterline. Inside the crack, something glinted. He pulled out a small waterproof flashlight and shined it into the opening. The light reflected off a piece of glass. It turned out to be a bottle. Someone had hidden a message inside a bottle that was placed in the buoy. Elias's heart beat faster. He carefully widened the crack with a tool from his kit and pulled out the bottle. It was cold, covered in salt crystals, but the cork was still intact. Inside was a rolled piece of paper. He uncorked it and unrolled the note. The handwriting was delicate, and it said, "If you find this, please keep the buoy's song in the sea." There were no names or date, but just those simple words. Elias frowned, puzzled. What could this possibly mean? They wanted me to keep the buoy's song in the sea? He looked back at the buoy and thought for a while. The melodic sound continued, steady and calm. He then tapped the buoy lightly and the tone changed. Suddenly he understood. The buoy wasn't supernaturally making music on its own. Something inside, like a small chamber or a loose metal piece, was resonating with the movement of the waves. It wasn't creepy or weird. It was beautiful, and maybe that was the point. Elias sat quietly for a moment, listening to the soft music rising from the buoy. It blended with the gentle rhythm of the sea, creating a peaceful harmony. He imagined someone long ago placing the bottle inside, hoping that whoever found it would appreciate the sound rather than silence it. He smiled. Instead of repairing the buoy, he secured the crack so the bottle could no longer fall out, but he left the resonating chamber untouched. The buoy's strange, gentle song would continue drifting across the water, just as the note had asked. On his way back to shore, the sun climbed higher, warming the floor of the boat. Elias felt calm and relaxed. He didn't fully understand the mystery, but he didn't need to. Some things were meant to remain partly unexplained, and he was okay with that. As he approached the harbor, he heard a fisherman call out from the pier. "Did you find it?" Elias nodded. "Yes, indeed, sir, and it's nothing dangerous. It's something special and honestly a little odd." The fisherman grinned. "So it really sings?" "It does," Elias said, "and I think it should keep doing so, since someone designed the buoy to make music." The fisherman laughed softly. "Well, good. The sea could use a little music." Elias tied up the boat and stepped onto the dock, feeling the warm boards beneath his feet. The musical buoy was far behind him now, but its soft melody still echoed in his mind as calm, steady, and strangely comforting. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed today's story. Make sure to press like on this video if you want more content like this. I'm also happy to include specific vocabulary in future stories, so feel free to type difficult English words in the comments below for me to use next time. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.